What is your worst you're on speakerphone story? I had to call my boss for help with a machine that would not cooperate. We are talking as I am tightening a bolt and my slips. I split my knuckle open and call the machine every 4-letter word. I finally stop and he says I should have told you that you are on speaker with my family in the car. I could hear his wife laughing but could only imagine his daughter's reaction. 13-year-old me. Mom, I think I just got my period again, but it's blood. There's blood everywhere and there's chunks and I don't know what to do. Oh, I think I'm dying, please come home, I think I'm ready to try tampons now. Her whole office heard. I was mortified. I was on a conference Zoom video call with customers and my kids were upstairs being rather loud. I hit mute, ripped my headphones off and yelled, "Kids, shut up, daddy is on a call, you're making too much noise, be quiet right now, also help any." Satisfied, I turned back to my laptop to see, in horror, a black screen where my visit should have been and 4-5 customers, red-faced with laughter, some with tears in their eyes. I'd hit the turn off camera button instead. I used to work security at a casino. I showed up to a shift one night to be told that my crazy gig of riding around the car parks making sure there aren't any babies' pets locked in cars was cancelled and I'd be hauling ass on the main gaming floor all night. I was annoyed. And after the briefing I went to the staff cafe to get a coffee and change. Down there, I plopped down onto a couch and started bitching to one of my co-workers about my boss, the job, specific colleagues. I was extremely insubordinate and critical of my own team. But it was okay. This was a private conversation. Or so I thought, until the floor supervisor finds me and tells me I'm sitting on my radio's PTT button. Every security officer, not to mention every surveillance operator, all up, some 140 individuals on shift had just been treated to 10 minutes of me blocking comms with my itching. I wish I could have died right there. I still had 11.5 hours left on my shift. I'm a medic. We had a patient pinned behind a tractor and was found the next morning. He was still alive but not doing well. I knew he was going to die as soon as we moved the tractor. But I called the emergency department physician for any advice. This was on a radio, so no expectation of privacy or anything. "Doctor, we're here with a 45-year-old male. Pinned behind a tractor for the last 10-12 hours. Massive trauma noted. Patient is conscious but very weak. Vitals are. We have 2 IOs going and have administered 2 liters of fluid and sodium bicarbonate. We have family here as well. Do you have any orders or request further information?" Just spelling it out. The goddamn doctor responds, "Oh, he's ducking dead." Yeah, he's going to be. We're going through the motions. And you just made it so much worse to comfort the family. I had it on speakerphone while I was driving once. And I had to, well, fart. And it wasn't one of those dainty poots, but a 6-man Reinhardt Earthshitter. Well, apparently the phone really wanted to pick that noise up in particular. That's when my boyfriend cut the conversation off and said, "Did you just fart? We're married now." Background: I work as an accountant. And the day before, had been talking with co-worker about a newish, second-year client of ours, who shall be Mr. Smith. He had just received his tax return and wanted us to redo it with some expenses he'd missed. Nothing too unusual, but he'd done the same thing the year before. And co-worker and I felt a little odd about it. So the next day, I get a phone call. Co-worker: "Hey Popo. I was just talking to Mr. Smith." Me: "Oh man. What does that crook want this time?" Co-worker: "Well, he's on speaker with me here. And it turns out that the expenses were just in different categories than he's used to. And we don't have to change anything after all." Me: "Oh." Needless to say, Mr. Smith was not a 3rd-year client with us after that. Friend of mine, who is a girl, and I are driving in my car to another friend's house. I call one of my best friends to see what he's up to and let him know that me and Let's call her Tabitha. Are going out for the night? He responds with, oh no way dude. That's awesome. She has cans. My heart stopped and she just looks at me. I go, bro. She's in the car with me and you're on speakerphone. Tabitha says, hey I. He then says, yeah, I'm not going out anymore. Not me but a VP I worked for. Bluetooth headsets had just come out for the BlackBerry phone. VP got one to be cool. VP. I asked for one but they were limited to upper management. VP gets on a call with other VPs. CIO and CTO. He's in Vancouver. They are in San Francisco in a conference room with mics and speakers in the ceiling. VP needs to pee really badly. He mutes the headset and goes to the John. People in San Francisco suddenly stop talking as their eyes turn up towards the ceiling. Someone asks why does it sound like it's raining all of a sudden. VP storms past my desk and throws the headset at me. It's yours now. Early Jabra headsets had a bug that would randomly unmute without warning. And that's how I got my first company paid Bluetooth headset. Back in high school I was with my friend and our girls basketball team coach. Definitely was not the best team and the coach was a wonderful person but not a great coach. We had practice that day and she was telling us how she couldn't make it but someone else from the boys senior team would step in for the day if enough of us wanted to still have it. My coach asked me to call around and see if people still wanted to come. I call my friend, MVP, and put her on speaker, not sure why. I guess so the coach could hear her answer ASAP, and told her the situation. She said yay. We might as well still have the practice. Coach isn't really that good and doesn't help us at all. We basically coach ourselves anyway. I think I was able to turn off the speaker before the last few words but the damage was already done. Coach looked a bit upset initially but then said wait. What did she say? I couldn't hear her. But the phone was right in between us. I just said that she said she would enjoy having it and then ran outside the classroom to tell her that she was on speakerphone. This was 6 years ago and I haven't really used speakerphone since. TLDR. Called my friend in front of coach and friend said coach wasn't good anyway. I'm gay and not out to most of my family. I had just gotten my wisdom teeth out so I was drugged up when I called my cousin, who I came out to a few years ago. He was in the room with his parents and I was on speakerphone when I went into all the details of my recovery, including a queue of lesbian movies to keep me occupied. He cut the call short so I wouldn't keep talking and said he'd call me later. This is an old chestnut. Here's the short rundown. I was attending a high-level brief with some military officers. I was younger and had no role in the brief except to maybe answer one possible question. The commander, 06 USMC Colonel, asks a question but no one has the direct answer. So a young captain, USMC, calls the appropriate person who is the major, USMC. The major was irritated I guess and speaking harshly to the captain. The captain reiterated to the major that he was on speakerphone with the commander but he was being repeatedly cut off. The major starts talking all this about this and that and is basically taking a dump on every Gov. GS 14/15 in the meeting. Then he tells the captain to put the commander on the phone. Sir, this is for the Thursday morning meeting. Cole very angry now is present and you are on speakerphone. Oh. Major in trouble now. This is Cole boiling with rage. Yeah, after this call I'm gonna need to talk to you one-on-one. Stand by for that. Not a happy one. My dad was supposed to pick up my younger sister and I from school one evening. There was a mandatory club meeting. He never showed up. The school was on the other side of town and the wrong side of the highway so we couldn't walk home. This was also before it was common for kids to have cell phones. My mom had gotten worried and came to find us at the school an hour after we were supposed to be home. She called my dad and put him on speaker. She's against using phones while driving. His excuse for not getting us was that he never wanted kids. We were her mom's problem. Duck the kids. He hates them. He went on a long rant about how much he hates us. My mom was too startled to hang up and my sister and I heard everything. That was probably the worst speakerphone moment I've ever had. That's the worst speaker moment anyone has ever had. I'm so sorry. Was driving with my GF in the car when she decided to call her mother and felt the need to put the convo on speakerphone without first saying that. Her mom then started on about the dump she needed to take when she got home. I had my mother's ring resized for my lady. As I was planning on popping the question, my lady had no clue. Fast forward a bit. I'm laying on my bed playing around on my phone with my babe right next to me and I got a call from a local number. I answered and heard, "Hey Roger, that kid?" "Yeah." "Hey, it's Chris from Jewelry Store Name. Just wanted to let you know that the ring is ready." I couldn't hang up the phone fast enough. I took a quick glance at my girl and saw she was smiling from ear to ear. It didn't ruin the moment when I asked her. And we just tied the knot little over a month ago. One week in grade 4. One of my classmates and I were picked to do the morning announcements. You start by playing the anthem, then read the announcements that the principal gives you. They always got two kids to do the announcements because the system was a bit old and sometimes the anthem wouldn't play properly. So one of them would press play and the other would stick their head outside the office to listen if it was playing. If it didn't, the one at the mic would apologize, stop the tape, and both kids would continue the announcements. One day in our week, the anthem didn't play. I was the one at the door. I tell my partner that it's not playing and we continue. Except she didn't stop the tape. So partway through our announcements the anthem actually gets going and plays as background music for the whole thing. We finish things up and one of the secretaries comes by and tells us that the anthem had been playing the entire time. My partner loudly says, "Oh it." The other secretary comes in and tells us that the mic was still live and the entire school heard a 4th grader say, "Oh it." My friend called to tell me she was pregnant. First thing I said was something along the lines of, "Oh. Well, how do you feel about that?" Following an awkward silence she told me I was on speakerphone and the father was there. Oops. Should have just said congrats. "Oh. Babe. Do you still have that drow costume with the white wig and dark body paint that you wore to Comic-Con last year? Put that it on so I can raid your dungeon with my dragon when I get home." Luckily, my mom, who was right next to me, had no idea what any of that meant. Called my dad. We were chatting. And he asked me about an assignment. I proceeded to tell him that ex-teacher really doesn't give a flying duck what I do as long as I get it in on time. My family is very liberal with our expletives. He doesn't usually care. Except this time he panickedly informs me my very Catholic, very mortified grandparents are listening in on speaker. They don't live with us. He gave me no warning. Not a single heads up. I had no reason to know they were listening. But I guess now they know their granddaughter cusses like a sailor. I might have the first occurrence of this actually. In 1994, my buddy put a telephony app on his compact something or other. We called a friend of his. And the friend didn't realize he was on speakerphone through the PC. The guy asked who the PC owner friend was hanging out with. And my friend named us all. The guy on the other end said, "OMG. So and so is there? Get rid of that loser." I felt so bad for so and so. Worst part, so and so and the guy on the phone were roommates. When I was first dating my husband, he called me and I launched into telling home what I was going to do with him when he got home. Babe. You're on speaker." Half a dozen people, including his boss, got to enjoy me dirty talking to my man. What kind of guy calls their GF like that on speaker in front of co-workers and their boss? Mayo, like seriously. My hands were busy cooking dinner and I was home alone, so when I got a call from my doctor I put her on speakerphone. She was calling about how sex is painful for me because testing came back and his reasons. Cue my mom walking into the house and hearing a strange woman on the phone telling her daughter what she can do sexually next time to feel pleasure again. Thankfully my mom is super chill and she just laughed really hard at the misunderstanding and timing of it all. I was on the phone with my wife, then GF, while she was shoe shopping with her mom and sister. I was driving, and when traffic got heavy I got a bit of road rage. I blurted out a pretty long string of expletives to vent when I realized she hung up on me. She then called me back about 5 minutes later and explained that she put me on speaker and didn't tell me she did so she could try on a pair of shoes. So her mom and sister along with the entire shoe depth heard my rant. Needless to say, from now on she tells me before she puts me on speaker. My drunk girlfriend asking me if I'm going to be on my period this weekend because it's her birthday and her sex drive is going to be through the roof. My parents were within earshot in the next room, and I couldn't take her off speaker because she'd accidentally done the call as a video chat, not voice only. Bless her socks. My phone is broken and I can only hear whoever is on the other end on speakerphone. Last week, I was walking out of a uni class when I got a FaceTime from my sister. I answered quickly, on speaker, to say I would call her back when I got home, but before I got a chance, my 3-year-old niece screamed "Auntie beer battered burpees." I did a poo on the toilet. Cue lots of strange looks from everyone else in the room, also packing up to leave. This wasn't a speakerphone situation, but I work at a software company and we do support chats. One part of our job is using a screen share app that allows us to remote into the user's computer to fix the issue, usually printer related. The guy sitting next to me was in the middle of one, and he turned to ask me a question. A lot of users sometimes forget that we can see their screen. This lady was one of them. She pulls up the internal messaging app, Slack, and begins to type "God. This chat guy is such a ducking idiot. He's taking forever." I've got it to do to her coworker in a personal message thread. My coworker, being the wonderful person that he is, clicks on her Slack typing space and writes, "Hey NG. Just letting you know I'm checking to make sure your driver is compatible." She immediately logged out of the screen share and got off of chat. Never wrote in again. My brother used to always get in trouble in high school and they would have to always call my mom. One day my mom sees the school number and answers it expecting the vice principal. My brother says "Hey mom," and my mom's instant reply was to say how she's so happy it's him and not the school calling about something stupid. Learned she was on speaker a little too late. It was prom night and I was in the car with my GF. My mom called while I was driving and immediately goes, "What the hell is your date wearing? That looks retarded," followed by a couple seconds of silence. Then we both burst out laughing. My mom was pissed for a while at me. NSFW. One night, toward the end of the best sex I've ever had, my ex went a little too far down while giving head and accidentally threw up a little on me and my bed. It created a really awkward situation, and I knew he felt embarrassed about it. I got on Skype with some friends later and told them about it, and how I didn't know how to tell him it's okay, while being nervous about something like that happening again. The next night, X was over again. Was on Skype with friends on speakerphone. And a friend said, "Is everything alright now?" I responded, "Alright about what?" He said, "The puke situation." My ex heard it and wouldn't talk to me for the rest of the night. Literally ignored me for 2 hours and went to sleep. Got no head that night. I called my best friend and immediately screamed that I think I might have gotten an ST over vacation. But I wasn't sure from which guy. I was on speaker. She answered her phone while cooking with her mom. I was on a conference call for an entire region of my company with multiple departments. VPs for said groups were on the call. I said my piece for the call. Then, thought, I put myself on mute. Went over to a coworker's cube and started shooting the it with him. Clearly not listening to the call. At one point, I complained to him about dealing with certain people in one of the departments on the call. My boss's boss came rushing around the corner to tell me to mute my line. I had been unmuted the whole time, and everyone heard everything. I had been getting multiple emails telling me to mute my line that I had not yet seen. Luckily, I quit that job a few weeks later for unrelated reasons.